And suddenly the atmosphere changed. Lucius, a demonic human, had arrived. His red aura filled the surroundings, and his confidence were unmatched. He lunged at Chai Na-yun, and Kim Suho was ready to strike him down with a single hit. Except, he didn't. Something was wrong. The worst-case scenario was unfolding. The co-author had altered the start of the story. And now their victory was uncertain. Death was here. Wait. I got ahead of myself. That's not how our adventure begins. Sorry. Our story begins with Kim Ha-jin, a melancholic writer who once again found himself pondering the protagonists of his novel, Kim Suho and Shin Jong-hak. Kim Suho, aged 17, is a righteous and hard-working individual with exceptional talents. Hailing from a common background, he embodies a strong sense of justice and carries a closely guarded secret. Shin Jong-hak, also aged 17, comes from the prestigious Jinsun Corp, a prominent chaebol in Korea. His privileged upbringing has made him narcissistic and elitist, leading to feelings of inferiority towards Kim Suho and eventually turning him into a villain. A curious email brought Kim Ha-jin back to reality. Someone wanted to remake his novel. To be honest, the work had been on hiatus due to a creative block, and his fans were far from pleased with the situation. Moreover, this would finally allow him to take some well-deserved vacation. As soon as he responded positively to the email, he suddenly felt incredibly tired and sleepy. Weird, I never sleep this soon, was his last thought. Somewhere else, a familiar ceremony was about to take place. Kim Suho takes the stage, his face displaying slight nervousness. He becomes the center of attention, drawing admiration and adoration from the crowd, especially for his exceptional academic achievements and the gift known as the Sword Saint. High above in the auditorium's highest seats, guild associates observe the unfolding events. Among them is Yun Sung-ah, an important assistant to the main character and a potential love interest whose relationship with the protagonist remains unfulfilled due to the author's suspension of the novel. Playfully bantering with a fellow associate, she discusses their future plans to recruit Kim Suho, disregarding the legality of their actions. Shin Jong-hak, exuding an air of nobility, also takes the stage. The audience admires him, feeling that he was inherently superior from birth. The stage is set for an epic clash between Kim Suho and Shin Jong-hak, two central characters destined to shape the unfolding narrative. Their intense gaze foreshadows the conflicts and challenges that lie ahead. Amidst the bustling crowd, Kim Chun-dong was experiencing a day unlike any other, starting with a name that Kim Ha-jin couldn't recall ever inventing. After the initial shock of waking up in the world he himself created, inhabiting the body of a generic and mediocre character, he was beginning to accept his new reality. Just hope this isn't another generic ice guy, he thought, before adding, I used to dream of going to Maldives, and now I'm going back to high school. Just perfect. Q, prestigious institute, stood as a symbol of excellence with its advancements in magic, science, and engineering. Chun-dong found himself among the elite cadets, yearning for a peaceful life. As a Veritas class novice, he observed the influential figures like Shin Jong-hak and Kim Suho, knowing their presence would inevitably impact his journey. Entering the classroom, Chun-dong chose a seat in the middle row, hoping to remain unnoticed. Suddenly, a thunderous shout from the instructor disrupted his tranquility. The instructor stressed the importance of training, reminding Chun-dong of the challenges within Cube and the looming combat scenarios. Looking around, Chun-dong recognized familiar faces, Kim Suho, Shin Jong-hak, Yu Yona, Chai Na-yun, Rachel, and Yi Young-han. Shin Jong-hak and Yu Yona engrossed in their conversation, and Princess Rachel by herself. The instructor highlighted Cube's unique challenges, evoking a mix of anticipation and fear in Chun-dong. The students faced a crucial decision, choosing their main weapons. Swords, spears, and sabers were popular choices, but Chundong contemplated an unconventional path. Despite the judgment he expected received from his classmates, he reached out for the disregarded handgun, symbolizing his identity and chosen journey. As eyes turned towards him, including Shin Jonghak and Kim Suho, Chundong stood firm in his choice. The weight of the rusted handgun filled him with conviction. The instructor's voice carried curiosity and concern, capturing the attention of Chuandong's classmates. Chundong embraced the significance of his decision, ready to prove that an ordinary choice could lead to extraordinary outcomes. With unwavering resolve, he embarked on the uncharted path within Cube, armed with his unconventional weapon and a spirit that defied conventions. Among the questioning glances, Chundong stood tall, determined to defy expectations and leave his mark in the world of heroes. He aimed to shape his destiny, showcasing that true heroism knew no bounds. Chundong was prepared to show the world that even in an unpredictable story, one could create extraordinary possibilities. In this world, guns were strong for soldiers without mana. They used special bullets that killed grade 8 monsters, but had limited power because they couldn't use magic on them. Instructor Kim Suhyuk called Kim Chuandong's name, surprised by his totally unconventional weapon choice. Suhyuk reminded him that Cube let cadets choose, but they had to face the results. After choosing their weapons, the students went to the dorms, where Chundong met some boys who mocked his gunner choice. He ignored them and they left. Trying to get used to the gun, Chundong thought about training his aim a bit, but the doorbell rang and stopped him. A voice said his luggage arrived, an item that connected him to his past life. It was a laptop, something from his old life on Earth. The laptop had many stories and ideas that showed Chuandong's creative journey in his past life. It had unfinished stories that stopped when he came to this new world. Now it could give him answers and help him understand his purpose and why he was here. Not far from there, in a spacious room on the top floor of Dorm 1, some students had gathered. A good-looking young man with a friendly smile asked Shin Jonghak about a gun user in their class. Jonghak squinted his eyes and looked back at him, unsure of the accuracy of the information. He replied that he had merely heard rumors. Kim Horak, a muscular and intimidating student, expressed his intent to defeat the gun user in a combat training. Jonghak warned Horak that defeating someone of such a low rank would result in losing points. He suggested challenging higher-ranked cadets instead, such as Chai Nayun, whom he believed Horak could defeat. Yu Yona supported the idea of Horak fighting Nayun. Jonghak asked who would she bet in a fight between him and Horak, but she didn't answer and kept drinking her tea. Eventually, Yona left, receiving warm farewells from the male cadets. Meanwhile, not far from there, Kim Suho was engrossed in his training at the Novice Fitness Center. Once finished, Chai Nayun engaged in a friendly conversation with him, commenting on the gravitation room she would train in. Kim Suho mentioned the gun user in their class and Chai Nayun expressed her confusion as to why he chose a gun as his weapon. Suho speculated that the gun user might have faced some trouble and would likely stay at Cube for a while. This remark provoked Chai Nayun's anger briefly, but they soon parted ways, both determined to work hard. Meanwhile, in Kim Chuandong's room, he observed his laptop screen with disbelief. It displayed information about Kim Chuandong's stats, gifts, and arts, all in a format he recognized as his own. Another strange modification done by the co-author. Suddenly, the laptop screen turned off, reflecting Kim Hajin's face instead of Chuandong's question mark. Now not only himself, but everybody else would see Hajin's real face. Startled, he watched as the screen turned back on, displaying a message indicating the completion of synchronization between Kim Chundong and himself. All of Chuandong's stats were reset, and Hajin acquired a unique authority called Setting Intervention. In this world, an awakening phenomenon known as enlightenment existed. It was considered the first step towards becoming a hero, signifying a personal breakthrough that went beyond one's limits. Most active duty heroes had already experienced enlightenment, enabling them to see their own gifts, skills, and abilities objectively. This insight allowed for more efficient training and the acquisition of clear rewards from towers and dungeons. However, exceptions to this norm existed, such as Kim Suho and Shin Jonghak, who had attained enlightenment at the ages of 15 and 17, respectively. Kim Ha-jin had a unique circumstance. He discovered that he possessed the ability to create his own gift, a special power unique to heroes. While he couldn't directly modify his invariable stats, there was a possibility of altering them using SP. In order to test this theory, he decided to modify his perseverance stat and succeeded in doing so. Encouraged by this discovery, he proceeded to exchange his points for SP, which he intended to invest in his invariable stats. He contemplated which stat to prioritize, ultimately choosing luck due to its vital role in this world. Recalling its significance from his novel, he understood that luck influenced various aspects of life, ranging from finding treasures in dungeons to winning lotteries. Without hesitation, he used 10 points to acquire 10,000 SP and maximized his luck, knowing that it would greatly impact his future endeavors. With a sense of accomplishment, he saved his progress, witnessing a flash of blue light from the laptop, and felt a renewed sense of readiness for the upcoming combat training. The so-called outcall was a magical power explosion that happened 50 years ago and shook the entire world. After this event, mysterious things like towers, dungeons, and monsters appeared, causing chaos and destruction. Humanity's science and technology lost their meaning, and society collapsed, becoming lawless. But heroes with amazing powers appeared and used their gifts to restore order and rebuild the world. With these heroes' help, humanity got back its lost virtues and combined them with new technology and science, creating fields like magic engineering. The towers, dungeons, and monsters needed be destroyed, but they were very different in difficulty and rewards. Towers required a lot of time and people to conquer it, while dungeons could be conquered by one person if they knew what to do there. In today's class, the question in the passage asks about the tower conquered by the Guild Apostle of Saints and its rewards. The tower was the Tower of Floods, and the reward was an ocean stone. Kim Ha-jin, who had the gift of observation and reading, could get information about anything by just looking at it. He had no trouble with the huge amount of information in this history class. Next, the students went to the novice field for the combat training class. The instructor, Kim Soo-hyuk, defined the teams. Each one had 4 members with different roles: 2 warriors, 1 sharpshooter, and 1 supporter. All the teams were fairly balanced, putting lower-ranked cadets with higher-ranked ones. Kim Ha-jin's team had Yu-yona, Jin Ho-sung, and Hazuki. The instructor said that the teams would stay the same until after the midterms, and the cadets got coordinates and information about the monster they had to kill. Their goal was to get to the place and kill the monster as fast and safe as possible. Kim Ha-jin's team got the coordinates for the black hump octopus. Yu-yona said they should talk while moving, and so they left together, but soon Kim Ha-jin's found himself behind his teammates. When his legs were on the verge of giving out, they finally arrived at their destination. They immediately spotted a giant octopus wreaking havoc near the beach. Yu-yona said that she would take care of the baby octopuses while Jin Ho-sung and Hazuki dealt with the main body. She didn't even glance at Kim Ha-jin. As the battle begun, Jin Ho-sung and Hazuki engaged the octopus to divert its attention. Yu-yona readied her whip and efficiently killed 30 baby octopuses, missing only one with a millimetric shot. Kim Ha-jin's bullet exploded the creature, leaving Yona surprised for a second. But he had no time to celebrate because the black hump octopus had once again spewed his babies, and this time nobody was prepared. Suddenly the world froze. But only for Kim Ha-jin. He had activated his newly acquired ability, Bullet Time. It slowed down time for 3 seconds, and he intended to put it to good use. In the blink of an eye, he neutralized all the creatures raining down viciously from the sky, using 3 rounds of ammunition. Kim Ha-jin's exceptional skill left Yu-yona and the others momentarily stunned, but they quickly regrouped and resumed the fight. Yu-yona focused on attacking the octopus's hump with her whip, while the others engaged its tentacles. After a grueling battle, Yuyona successfully severed 4 of the octopus's 8 tentacles, showcasing her abilities in supporting the warriors and protecting the sharpshooter. Soon the creature was defeated by his team, leaving Hajin totally exhausted from his lack of stamina. Suddenly an electronic voice announced their final time, 58 minutes. Well, at least he was still in one piece, he thought. Once the battle concluded, the team got back to Cube, and his teammates commended Kim Hajin for his swift elimination of the baby octopuses. Except for Yona, she felt a tinge of bitterness towards their team's delayed arrival, caused by Kim Hajin's lack of stamina, and distanced herself from the praise. Nevertheless, internally she acknowledged that his quick barrage of bullets had played a vital role in their triumph. Late into the night, Kim Hajin checked the combat training results on his laptop. He observed that his accuracy during the training had been exceptionally high and his proficiency in using his gift had increased by 20%. Additionally, his workout had resulted in improvements in his stats, thanks to his enlightenment and luck. Meanwhile, Yuyona delved into analyzing the combat training videos. She couldn't help but notice Kim Hajin's impressive accuracy in eliminating the baby octopuses. Her curiosity about him only grew further, even if she didn't want to admit it. Something similar was happening within Holy Grace of God Guild Room. Yun Sung-ah, the vice leader, focused on identifying promising talents among the freshmen. An interesting video caught her attention, an extraordinary display of shooting skills by an uncommon student who had switched from using a sword to a gun upon entering Cube. Yun Sung-ah pondered the significance of his enlightenment and the limitations of his gift. She concluded that keeping an eye on him would be wise, even if his abilities were limited to using a gun. If he really was special, she would check on him later, but if he was just lucky. Well, as she learned pretty early in life, in this world luck never lasts for too long. Wednesday's first class was about anti-personnel training. The cadets paired up to spar with each other using training weapons, and Kim Hajin found himself in a weird situation. Instead of sparring with a fellow cadet, he had to fight the anti-personnel instructor. With no training guns available, he had no choice but to face her directly. He struggled to keep up with her demands, as his body felt heavy and sluggish. Thanks to his clairvoyant skill, he was able to predict her moves, and dodge all of her attacks, even if just barely. After spending the next day working out and training, Saturday came unnoticed for him. The orientation for the traveling club was scheduled for that day, and the meeting place was the Cube Portal Post in Seoul. He decided to join the traveling club, as it would bring him closer to the next main event. He met with other members, such as Kim Suho and Chai Nayun, at the meeting spot. As everyone waited, the club president, Oh Han-hyun, arrived and introduced himself. He seemed a bit shy but was genuinely surprised by the number of club applications. He explained the purpose of the club, emphasizing that their trips were meant for relaxation rather than training, hence the club's name, Healing Rain. The club members would be split randomly into pairs and embark on a short trip to Seoul. Kim Hajin planned to choose his partner by using his ability. But Yona drew his name first. His heart sank at the realization, and he tried to approach her, but she made it clear that he shouldn't speak to her so casually, and that they should split up from the very beginning. He didn't mind since he planned to join Kim Suho regardless of her actions. Once the drawing lots were over, the pairs gathered in front of the cube's portal post. Teleportation is awesome, thought Kim Hajin as he stepped in. Instantly his surroundings transformed into an familiar place.
Welcome travelers. This is the National Weapons Museum. We possess the largest exhibition hall of weapon replicas in all Korea.
And he soon spotted Chai Nayun, eagerly looking at a bow on display, but she wasn't his main concern at the moment. Kim Suho, the main character, was the one Kim Hajin sought. He approached him as he was examining a replica of the famous seven-branched sword. Kim Suho took a second to recognize him, and even apologized for that. Soon they started a conversation about the weapon and a famous rifle used by Napoleon himself.
Warning, monsters just appeared outside our museum. I repeat, monsters just appeared outside our museum.
As chaos erupted around him, Kim Hajin remained calm. He had foreseen this moment, and he knew the outcome. Kim Suho would cut down the first villain of the story, with Chai Nayeon's aid, and awaken a power beyond his imagination. It would be a brief but glorious spectacle, so he stepped back to witness it. Chai Nayeon felt a surge of adrenaline as she prepared for the upcoming fight. And suddenly the atmosphere changed. Lucius, a demonic human, had arrived. His red aura filled the surroundings, and his confidence were unmatched. He lunged at Chai Nayeon, and Kim Suho was ready to strike him down with a single hit. Except, he didn't. Something was wrong. The worst-case scenario was unfolding. The co-author had altered the start of the story. And now their victory was uncertain. Death was here. A sword's same magic power can cut through anything. Once the battle concluded, Chai Nayeon, overwhelmed by pain, vomited uncontrollably. Witnessing her suffering, Kim Suho attempted to comfort her, but she angrily pushed him away. Kim Ha-jin said that her brother would come to help her, unaware that he was in the hospital, sparking her fury even more. As he left the museum, Kim Ha-jin ran into Yun Sang-ah, who had been slaying some monsters that appeared during the invasion. He told her that Kim Suho and Chai Nayeon were inside the museum, before she could even ask, making her curious for a moment. After sitting down in a park, he opened his laptop, and found a message from the mysterious co-author of his novel. They said that the story was too easy and that they would increase the difficulty to create more excitement. The world created by Kim Ha-jin was officially being altered, and he had a feeling that things were about to get much worse. On his way back, Kim Ha-jin ran into the instructor, and Kim Suho, who confronted him about Chai Nayeon, and her brother's physical condition. He asked Kim Ha-jin why he had spoken so coldly of him. Kim Ha-jin asked for more details, but he didn't say anything else. At home, he discovered that due to co-author's unexpected intervention, Chai Nayeon's brother had been severely injured during the Fireflake operation, and was now in a coma at the hospital. Instead of being one of the heroes who helped Kim Suho, Chai Nayeon's brother had become a demon seed, a future demonic human that Kim Ha-jin would have to kill. The next day, during anti-personnel training class, Chai Nayeon openly challenged him to a spar. However, he declined, as he still didn't have a training pistol, deeply irritating her. Internally, he reflected on what he would be forced to do with the person she loved the most. But, in this case, what else could he do? Later that day, from a vending machine, he bought a Sprite and a Coke. The latter he gave to Yuna, who loved such things, but couldn't admit it due to her social status. Initially, she refused, but he sneakily put the coke in her bag. She would be an important piece in the novel, and that's one of the reasons he joined the academic club Veritas. The president, Yoon Hyun, a young and charismatic man, was actually a demonic human, a key villain in the upcoming events, with Yoo Yona in his crosshairs. The club aimed at analyzing monsters, and Yoon Hyun explained how valuable the information about their vital points was, even reaching billions of wons each. He asked Yoo Yona where she thought the weak point of the high-grade monster, Mountain Tyrant, was, but she couldn't answer, despite all her connections, both inside and outside Cube. At the end of the meeting, Kim Ha-jin approached her. Initially, she tried to ignore him, but he insisted and said he had valuable information that would be very beneficial for her and her guild. The weak point of the Mountain Tyrant was a blue mark in the back of its heel, he told her. In exchange, he asked for a gun called Desert Eagle. Yoo Yona asked if he could prove his claim, but he couldn't. Internally, he hoped she would believe him, since she had nothing to lose, and her guild was going to hunt the creature anyway. If she ignored his advice, he would lose nothing. Instead, if she listened to him, he might gain an important ally. A few days later, in his apartment, Kim Ha-jin was facing a problem that haunted him from the other world, the necessity to make money. Chun Dong had incurred a debt of 300 million won, but he only had 3 million in his account. After reflecting for some time, Ha-jin came to the conclusion that he had two alternatives. The first was to use his knowledge from the novel and invest in stocks. The more successful a guild was in their raids, the higher their market value would rise, and Kim Ha-jin knew which guild was about to have their market value skyrocket. However, he didn't have enough money to make such investments. The other option was field hunting, where he could hunt and sell creatures' bodies easily. His delivery had arrived, and it was time for him to test his new weapon. On his way to the field, he encountered Park Soo-hyej, who would later become Kim Soo-ho's agent and the country's top agency representative. He immediately made a contract with him, foreseeing his future success. While Park explained that a firearm wouldn't be able to kill a steel boar, Kim Ha-jin fired his new weapon, the Desert Eagle, and killed the monster with a single shot, leaving the agent astonished. After killing a few more creatures, Kim Ha-jin bid farewell to Park, collected his reward, and invested his money in the stocks of the guild Packhorse Master. Back at home, while researching the villains of the novel, his notebook started updating, and a sudden excruciating pain struck him, revealing a strange tattoo on his arm. The notebook referred to it as a stigma. The next day, still with a sore arm and not fully understanding what the stigma was, Kim Ha-jin attended the exemplary citizen ceremony for helping defeat the demonic human Lucius, alongside Chai Na-yeon and Kim Soo-ho, who thanked him for his assistance. Supreme Hero Yoo Si-hyuk attended the event to personally congratulate them. He tried to persuade Kim Soo-ho to give up being a hero and had a brief conversation with Chai Na-yeon. When it came to Kim Ha-jin, he wasted no time. In a nearby cafe, while learning more about his new gift, Yoon Sung-ga approached him, offered her card, and expressed a desire to talk about something. However, Kim Ha-jin, even if aware of her immense influence in the novel, declined her offer, knowing that she wasn't interested in him personally but merely curious about his recent achievements. So he left. At home, he discovered that his stigma was one of the so-called creator authorities and contained magic power. The mana from the stigma could be used in any way Kim Ha-jin desired and would gradually recover over 24 hours if depleted. The gift observation and reading also received an upgrade, allowing Kim Ha-jin to read the Book of Truth, which would answer any question within the limits of his magic power. Suddenly, his smartwatch chimed with an alert, and Kim Ha-jin already knew what it was about. The second arc of the novel, the Cube serial murder incident, was about to begin. This arc was crucial because the main target was Yoo Yona, and her safety was far from granted.
To all my fellow seekers of wonder, as we traverse the realms of imagination together, may you find solace in the knowledge that within you lies untapped potential and boundless magic. Embrace the challenges that come your way, for they are the catalysts for growth and transformation. Remember, true heroes are not born, but made through resilience, compassion, and unwavering determination. Let your light shine brightly, illuminating the path for others to follow. And always have in mind, within the pages of your own story lies the power to create a world filled with love, courage, and endless possibilities. Yours, El Mago.